the roast of WrestleMania, which is something they had never done before, hosted by Tony Hinchcliffe. And for anyone who doesn't know who Tony Hinchcliffe is, he's a comedian who I personally don't think is funny. But he has I can't deny his success. I think he really kind of got famous through being a part of the Rogan sphere, a comic who would go on Joe Rogan and still does occasionally. And that's probably how he initially got famous. But he also has a very successful show called Kill Tony, which I've seen, which I find unwatchable. But it has gone from YouTube to now. Kill Tony is actually now on Netflix, which is part of the reason why Hinchcliffe was afforded the opportunity to appear and sit in on some color commentary recently. Was it on Raw?
Yes,
or SmackDown? It was Raw. Yeah, and it was dreadful.
It was not good. I was not a fan.
Dreadful. So I'm not a fan of Tony Hinchcliffe. But yeah, so they did this roast. Hosted. Hinchcliffe was the host, right? He wasn't just one of the comedians.
Yes, he was.
He was the actual host. But you can't watch this. It's not on Peacock or on Netflix or on YouTube. They intentionally didn't film it. I guess there's leaked audio, right?
And video.
But of course the roast concept is, it's really no holds barred with the humor. I'm actually a fan of roasts. I haven't watched the roast in a long time, but I
love the roasts.
Yeah.
I just some of the jokes that were said, and pro wrestling fans always try to get one over on the company.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for pro wrestling fans, I mean, unfortunately, they always want to feel like they're getting one over. So when WWE said, we're not going to show this, we're not going to record it, it'll never be seen, of course, every fan was going to record it and put it on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, they were taking cell phones, right? When you went in, they would take your cell phone. But of course, if you hide it well enough, they don't know you have a cell phone. That's really easy to get around anyway, right? Because you just bring two cell phones and you just give them the one that you're not actually using. And then that way you're able to sneak the other one in. It's the easiest thing in the world to get away with. What's that?
I have a continual glucose monitor.
Yeah.
Because of this, you cannot take my cell phone away from me.
Oh, no kidding.
Cannot. It is synced to my cell phone.
I'll be damned.
It's recording data.
So legally, they can't take it from you.
They cannot.
Wow. Interesting.
If I'm sitting in a movie theater and I'm checking my blood sugar and they come to me and tell me to put my phone away, they are in violation of ADA.
Wow. Interesting. Huh.
They cannot do it. Now, obviously, if I'm sitting there recording it, the movie, that's a whole nother ball of wax.
They can tell you not to do that, but they can't take your phone.
But the moment I point and say, I'm checking my blood sugar and show them the monitor, they have to walk away and they have to accept it.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay.
So in theory, that works.
Yeah.
But in practice, it's not practical. But look, as much as I love him, and he's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I think some of the things Paul Heyman said at this roast, and some of the things he said on the Pat McAfee show warranted a suspension.
Really?
Telling a Hispanic male that you're eventually going to be deported in today's climate is wrong. To sit there and make light of an alleged rape case to get heat is wrong.
Think he went too far?
I think he went way too far. And I would never. There's a difference between too far in society and too far in pro wrestling. You get a lot more leeway in pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by pro wrestling standards, he crossed a line. I was uncomfortable watching him on Pat McAfee.
I haven't actually watched it yet. I've only heard the audio of it. I haven't watched it.
Some people are saying, oh, when people chanted, "You suck," and he said, "Your mother taught me how," that was wrong. That's been said for years.
Yeah.
I didn't have an issue with that.
Right.
I had an issue with pointing out a Hispanic male, calling him Jose, I think he called him, and then told him he was going to be deported.
Yeah.
In the societal climate we live in right now,
yeah,
was in very poor taste. I think to talk about a married woman's vagina that is not a part of the company anymore was wrong.
Are you talking about at the roast?
Yes.
Who?
Paul Heyman made jokes about Maurice's private parts.
Oh, Maurice, yeah, the Mrs. wife.
Mm-hmm.
Maurice, yeah.
To say Shayna Baszler has a penis.
But in the context of a roast, though, I mean, isn't that the deal? Like,
I think you have to look at overall context, at least from my point of view.
Yeah.
Shayna Baszler is someone who the IWC has really targeted because of her looks.
I've never noticed. I'm a fan, by the way. I like Shayna Baszler.
I am not, and it's not for her lifestyle choices, her looks, or anything like that. I think she rode Ronda Rousey's coattails to her spot, and I don't like that. But hey, get your spots when you can.
Yeah. I became a fan of hers in NXT. I liked her in NXT. She did do a couple of promos too where she wore a Kiss shirt, so there's that bias that I have.
Well, maybe she paid Gene. Maybe that's why she hasn't been on TV. She paid Gene Simmons $12,000 to be his roadie. So anyway, moving on. I mean, just some of these jokes. The worst one was Paul Heyman saying, "We need another wrestling promotion like Freddie Prinze's father needs another hole in his effing head." For those of you that don't know, Freddie Prinze Sr. committed suicide.
Yeah.
Freddie Prinze was in attendance. He had to hear that joke about his father. I have lost.
He used to work for WWE.
Yep. I've lost a loved one due to suicide.
Yeah.
My half-brother, Douglas, hung himself from the rafters of a trailer. Wow. That struck a really big nerve with me.
Yeah.
I think that this roast was in poor taste. It was very ill-conceived. And I mean, some of these jokes are outside the realm of good taste in a roast.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a roast. It's like it's gonna get vicious.
How much ball breaking was there? And I know you probably remember this when Jimmy Kimmel said Flavor Flav that Chris Benoit was a better father than Flavor Flav.
Oh, Jesus, he said that at
the roast of Flavor Flav.
Oh,
He
wow.
said Flavor Flav was responsible for more homeless black kids than Hurricane Katrina. Seriously, Chris Benoit is a better father than you.
Wow.
I get, and
But
you know what?
it's a
Full
roast.
full disclosure, I laughed
Yeah.
when he said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But goodness gracious. Afterwards, when I thought about it, I was like, that.
Yeah.
And he said it like a month after the Chris Benoit
Yeah.
murders.
Yeah.
I mean, look, everyone's line is different. I just think that this was one of those ideas you had that somebody in the room should have said, wait a minute,
Yeah.
let's maybe not.
They put
Let's
themselves. They
put
put them.
the
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
they put themselves in a very bad position with
Well,
this.
that's what I was going to say, because it's a no-win. It's a no-win situation, because so if on the one hand, these jokes, I mean, they do go pretty far, and so they're taking a lot of criticism for this. On the other hand, if they had not if like Heyman or anyone else had not done some of these jokes and it were much tamer, then they'd be getting pilloried for, oh, you said it's a roast, but instead it's just a bunch of people telling jokes. There's no edge to it. So there's really no winning. And Eric Bischoff said on 83 Weeks, he said, this whole thing was more trouble than it was worth. Why did they even do this to begin with? And I bet you they don't do another one. This was probably a one and done.
No. And Eric Bischoff is spot on in that.
Yeah.
In
like,
that,
why do this?
Why? It just made no sense. The moment I read about it, I'm like, this is not ending well.
Yeah.
I just had this thought of impending doom when I read it.
Well, it's also weird too, like to do an event like this, but it's not being recorded for. I mean, I'm sure the company recorded something, but to not, because even, other roasts, they run on Comedy Central or wherever, but for the company to invest resources into doing an event that's not even going to be broadcast, and in fact, after the fact, they're going to try to suppress any bootleg versions of it showing up online. It's like, why? That's completely, I mean, that's the opposite of anything of the way they would approach any other event. It's bizarre. It's really strange.
Yeah, I don't have, I just think it was poorly executed, and I 100% agree it'll never happen again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it for the roast.